University with aspirations of one day becoming one of the top grossing sports agents in America. With that being said, today I want to speak to you about financial empowerment in the African American community. I will reintroduce some notable African Americans who were somewhat financially savvy with their money, as well as talk to you about strategies that you can implement in your families in regards to building up financial wealth. I want everybody to repeat after me. The more you know.
The more you know.
The more you grow.
The more you grow.
All right, I like that. I like that. There's no secret that it's time for each of us to start establishing a strong financial footprint that endures for future generations. As a first-generation college student, I understand the importance of financial literacy in the African American community. I remember when I was in high school, me and my best friend right here, we worked at a retirement home. We would get paid every Wednesday, and on Thursday we were broke. Struggling to our next paycheck. Our problem was not getting money. Our problem was managing our money to make it last to our next paycheck. So what's clear to me now is this: the more you know, the more you grow. Let me ask you a few questions. In your opinion, who are the leading experts on personal wealth building and financial management? What are strategies that all African Americans can utilize to enhance and develop a meaningful working knowledge of personal wealth and finance? What is the difference between being wealthy and being rich? And what are the latest financial management tools that can be leveraged to build wealth? Well, I did some research and I found out some interesting statistics. According to the 2014 U.S. Census Bureau and the Department of Labor and Statistics, African Americans make up about 13% of the U.S. population, but they only own 3% of the assets. The total net worth of white families in America is approximately $70,000 compared to the just $6,000 it is in an average African American home. One part of this gap is explained by the fact that African Americans are twice as likely unemployed as their counterparts. The unemployment rate in the African American community is 10.6% compared to the just 5.3% it is nationally. Those African Americans who are employed earn about $13,000 less than their counterparts. And another tremendous racial disparity in the wealth gap is home ownership in the African American community. And I found out that that stat has doubled in recent decades. Again, the more you know, the more you grow. I'm sure you heard of Jay-Z, Magic Johnson, or even heard of, back in the day, heard of someone running to Macy's that they just couldn't wait to get their hands on the latest pair of FUBU jeans. But have you ever thought about Sean Carter, Irvin Johnson, or Damon John as leading experts in financial wealth building? Let's take a closer look at Magic Johnson, for example. Magic Johnson is a genius in my book. Magic Johnson received a deal worth $2.5 million in 1979. 1980, the Los Angeles Lakers gave him a $25 million deal. So that was the highest grossing contract in sports at that time. Magic Johnson, instead of blowing his money, he decided to invest in himself. So in 1981, he opened up Magic Johnson Enterprises. As of last week, when I looked it up, Magic Johnson Enterprises is worth $700 million. When I saw that stat, I was like, whoa, like that's crazy. This guy really, like, he invested in himself. But what also was crazy was this. Even though he had that, I found out that in 2008, Magic Johnson contacted Howard Schultz. Howard Schultz is the CEO of Starbucks. And he was like, hey, Mr. Schultz, I have an idea for you. I want to bring Starbucks to the urban community. Mr. Schultz, Magic, you know what, man? I don't think your magic's going to work over here. I think you just have to sit back and let me do what I do, and you continue to do what you do. But Magic Johnson had a secret weapon. He had my little sister on his side. My sister, every paycheck, would turn over her check to Starbucks. But my little sister wasn't the only person who was doing that. Magic Johnson, Mr. Schultz saw that those urban locations were booming because African Americans actually like to drink coffee. So 6 years later, Mr. Schultz came back to Magic Johnson and brought those 75 locations from him for double his money. If that's not genius, I don't know what is. But what it is that's genius. What it is that's the difference between being rich and being wealthy. Being rich is this. Being rich is when me and my best friend Eddie, when we would get paid in high school, we had money in our pocket and we knew we could go do X, Y, and Z. But being wealthy is what Magic Johnson was able to do, having a $25 million deal and allowing his money to work for itself. But before I close out, I want to go over some strategies and tools that we all can utilize to enhance and develop a meaningful working knowledge of our own personal finance. First, knowledge is key, but understanding is the unlocking mechanism. You have to have both to open doors to wherever you want to go, which is why I believe it is extremely important for us as an African American community to have a savings plan and set financial goals. When I was younger, me and my friend Eddie, we often had a pre-payday spending plan. I often think about it now as, what could have happened if me and Eddie would have sat down and actually budgeted out, hey, we're going to spend X, Y, and Z right here, but we're going to put this in the bank. We will both be in different financial, we would be in a different financial realm than our other friends. We're living check to check. Right now, in the U.S., there's so many apps out there. The apps range from mobile banking apps to setting alerts on your phone and say, hey, stop spending, it's not payday yet. Oftentimes, I see my brothers and sisters spending money that they don't necessarily have. They go from simply poor money management to simply mismanagement. I believe that this generation has been given the option to manage their money anytime and anywhere. And we have to practice that money management freedom. My mentor used to always say practice makes permanent. And I used to look at her like she was crazy. But what's clear to me right now is, when she said that, what I know now is that we have to start making better decisions so that those decisions can become second nature. I also believe that aside from a savings plan, it is extremely important for us as a whole to have an emergency fund. I was reading an article on Black Enterprise in regards to Magic Johnson when he had acquired a portion of the LA Dodgers. And he said, I don't just prepare for a downfall, I prepare for my recovery. All steps toward attaining wealth. Again, the more you know,
the more you grow.
Lastly, I think it's safe to conclude that in order to build a legacy that endures for future generations, we may not need to establish a strong financial footprint, rather a strong financial blueprint. Remembering me and my friend Eddie's missteps from when we were younger has made me realize this. It's not the more you know, the more you grow. It's the more you know, the more you gross.